Centauri Prime's spaceport was a hive of activity, a melting pot of various alien species, each preoccupied with their own affairs. The air buzzed with conversations in countless languages, the hum of machinery, and the occasional shout of a vendor. Jack, a rugged man in his mid-30s, stood by a small cafe. His worn leather jacket and stubble hinted at a man who had seen his fair share of adventures. Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. Heads turned skyward as a massive shadow loomed overhead. The sleek, dark form of a voger patrol ship descended, its engines roaring. The ship's landing gear hit the ground with a heavy thud, and a ramp extended. Out marched a squad of imposing voger soldiers, their metallic armor gleaming under the artificial lights of the spaceport. "Attention, humans and lesser beings," boomed the voger leader, his voice amplified by a device on his chest. He stood tall, his reptilian features twisted in a sneer of superiority. "We are the voger, and we demand your immediate surrender. Failure to comply will result in your destruction." The crowd recoiled, murmurs of fear rippling through the masses. But Jack remained unfazed. He took another sip of his coffee, his eyes narrowing as he studied the voger leader. With deliberate slowness, he set his cup down and stepped forward. "Excuse me," Jack called out, his voice cutting through the tension. The voger leader turned his piercing gaze towards him. "You must be new around here. We don't scare that easily." A ripple of surprise passed through the voger ranks. The leader's eyes flashed with irritation. "Who dares to challenge the might of the voger?" he demanded. Jack smirked. "The name's Jack, and you're standing on my planet. So, unless you've got a permit, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The leader's sneer deepened. "Human, you are either very brave or very foolish. We have conquered worlds far more formidable than this. Surrender now, and perhaps we will spare your life." Jack shrugged, a glint of amusement in his eyes. "I don't think you understand how things work here. We humans might seem ordinary, but we've got a knack for dealing with bullies." The voger soldiers shifted uneasily, their leader's confidence wavering. Jack took advantage of the momentary hesitation. "Look, why don't you just pack up and leave? Save us all a lot of trouble." The leader's nostrils flared, but before he could respond, a voice crackled over his communicator. "Sir, we've detected unusual energy signatures nearby. Could be a trap." Jack's grin widened. "Hear that? Seems like we might have a few surprises up our sleeves." The voger leader hesitated, then snarled. "This isn't over, human. We will return." With a sharp gesture, he ordered his troops back onto the ship. The ramp retracted, and the vessel ascended, its engines roaring once more. As the shadow of the voger ship disappeared, the spaceport slowly returned to its usual buzz of activity. Jack picked up his coffee, now lukewarm, and took a contemplative sip. Around him, people started to relax, their initial fear giving way to relief. A slender woman with sharp eyes approached him. "That was quite the show," she said, a hint of admiration in her voice. Jack chuckled. "Just another day on Centauri Prime." "Alara," she introduced herself, extending a hand. "I think we could use someone like you. Interested in sticking it to the voger a bit more?" Jack shook her hand, a new determination sparking in his eyes. "Count me in." And so, with a new ally and a growing resolve, Jack's journey began, setting the stage for an adventure that would test his resilience and ingenuity against the might of the voger. The spaceport resumed its bustling rhythm, but the tension from the voger's visit lingered. Jack and Alara made their way through the crowd, heading towards a secluded corner where Alara had a hidden passage leading to her ship. "Nice move back there," Alara said, glancing at Jack with a mix of curiosity and respect. "But the voger aren't the type to back down easily." Jack nodded, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "I know. They'll be back, and next time they won't be as polite." Alara chuckled. "Polite isn't a word I'd use for them. So, what's your plan?" Jack's gaze turned steely. "First, we need to figure out what they're really after. They wouldn't come all this way just for a show of force." As they reached the hidden entrance, Alara keyed in a code, and a panel slid open. "Agreed. Follow me." Inside, the corridor was dimly lit, the walls lined with various tools and equipment. They made their way to a small, cluttered control room where Alora activated a holographic display. The Vrognar patrol ship's recent movements appeared on the screen. "Looks like they're scanning for something," Alora said, zooming in on the data. Jack frowned, studying the display. "Unusual energy signatures, they mentioned that before they left. We need to find out what's causing it." Alora nodded. "I have some contacts who might know more, but we'll need to move fast. The Vrognar won't waste any time regrouping." Just as she finished speaking, an alarm blared through the control room. "They're on to us," Alora muttered, grabbing a blaster from the wall and tossing another to Jack. "Get ready." The door burst open, and a squad of Vrognar soldiers stormed in. Jack and Alara dove behind cover, returning fire. The air filled with the sound of blaster shots and the acrid smell of burning circuits. "We need to split up," Alara shouted over the noise. "I'll hold them off here. You get to my ship and prepare for takeoff." Jack hesitated but saw the determination in Alara's eyes. "Stay safe," he said, before dashing down the corridor. As he ran, the sounds of battle grew fainter. He reached the docking bay, Alara's sleek spacecraft already powered up. He sprinted up the ramp, quickly familiarizing himself with the controls. "Come on, Alara," he muttered, glancing at the ship's entrance. Moments later, she appeared, slightly singed but victorious. She sealed the hatch and took the pilot's seat. "Nice timing," Jack remarked, strapping himself in. "Don't mention it," Alara replied. The ship lifted off, and they soared into the sky, leaving the spaceport and the pursuing Vrognar behind. Once they were safely in orbit, Jack turned to Alara. "So, these contacts of yours, how reliable are they?" Alara grinned. "Let's just say they've never let me down. We'll head to a nearby moon. It's a haven for information brokers and smugglers. If anyone knows what the Vrognar are after, it's them." Jack leaned back, feeling the weight of their mission settle on his shoulders. "All right, let's find out what these energy signatures are and why they're so important to the Vrognar." Alara set a course, and the ship hummed with energy as it accelerated towards their destination. Jack stared out the window, the stars streaking past, his mind racing with possibilities. "Whatever it is," he said quietly, "we need to get to it before the Vrognar do." Alara nodded, her expression serious. "We'll find it, and we'll stop them." With their resolve steeled, they continued their journey, unaware of the challenges and revelations that awaited them on the distant moon. The fate of Centauri Prime, and possibly more, hung in the balance. The journey to the nearby moon was swift, the ship's engines humming as stars streaked past the windows. Jack and Alara sat in the cockpit, a tense silence between them, both lost in their thoughts. As the moon grew larger in the viewport, Alara broke the silence. "We're heading to Haven," she said. "It's a refuge for smugglers and information brokers. My contact there is reliable, but we need to be cautious." Jack nodded, his eyes focused on the moon. "Understood." Alara's fingers danced over the controls, bringing the ship into a smooth descent. "We meet my contact, Zarek. He has his ear to the ground and can tell us what the Vrognar are after. But we need to be ready for anything." The ship touched down gently on Haven's surface, a rugged landscape dotted with makeshift buildings and bustling with activity. Jack and Alara disembarked, blending into the crowd of traders, smugglers, and other unsavory characters. They navigated through the narrow streets, arriving at a nondescript building with a flickering neon sign. Alara knocked on the door in a specific pattern, and it swung open to reveal a tall, wiry man with a cybernetic eye. "Alara," he greeted with a wary smile. "It's been a while. Who's your friend?" "Jack," she introduced. "We need information, Zarek. Urgently." Zarek gestured for them to enter. "Come in. Let's talk." Inside, the room was dimly lit, filled with various screens and gadgets. Zarek motioned for them to sit. "So, what brings you to my humble abode?" Alara leaned forward. "The Vrognar are looking for something. Unusual energy signatures. We need to know what it is and why they want it." Zarek's expression grew serious. "I've heard rumors. There's a device, ancient tech, buried on this moon. It emits a unique energy signature. The Vrognar believe it can enhance their weapons or even control minds. Jack's jaw tightened. We can't let them get their hands on it. Where is it? Zarek pulled up a holographic map of the moon. Here, deep within an old mining facility. It's heavily guarded, but if you can get past the defenses, the device is yours. Alara nodded. Thanks, Zarek. We'll handle the rest. As they prepared to leave, Zarek placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. Be careful. The Vrognar aren't the only ones after this tech. Others will kill for it. Jack met his gaze. We'll be ready. They left Zarek's hideout and made their way to the mining facility. The journey was arduous, the rough terrain and treacherous pathways testing their resolve. As they approached the facility, the imposing structure loomed ahead, surrounded by a high fence and patrolled by armed guards. We need a distraction, Alara whispered, scanning the perimeter. Jack spotted a nearby power generator. If we disable that, it should create enough chaos for us to slip inside. Alara nodded, and they carefully approached the generator. Jack worked quickly, using his tools to overload the circuits. Sparks flew, and the generator exploded, plunging the area into darkness. Now, Jack urged, and they sprinted towards the facility, slipping through the fence in the confusion. Inside, they moved silently through the dimly lit corridors, avoiding patrols and security cameras. They finally reached a large chamber where the device was housed, its strange glow illuminating the room. Alara's eyes widened. This is it. Jack approached the device, examining its intricate design. We need to get this out of here before the Vrognar arrive. As they worked to disconnect the device, alarms blared, and the sound of footsteps echoed through the halls. Looks like we've got company, Jack muttered. Alara drew her blaster. Let's give them a warm welcome. The doors burst open, and Vrognar soldiers flooded in. Jack and Alara fought side by side, their movements synchronized. Blaster shots filled the air as they defended the device. Almost there, Jack shouted, securing the device. Alara covered him, taking down the last of the soldiers. Let's move! They sprinted back through the corridors, the device in tow. Reaching the ship, they quickly boarded and took off, leaving the chaos behind. As they soared into space, Jack looked at Alara, a determined glint in his eyes. We did it. Now we need to figure out how to use this against the Vrognar. Alara smiled. One step at a time, Jack. For now, let's just be glad we made it out alive. With the device secured, they set course for Centauri Prime, ready to unlock its secrets and turn the tide against the Vrognar. As Jack and Alara's ship hurtled through space toward Centauri Prime, the tension in the cockpit was palpable. The ancient device, now securely stowed, emitted a soft, ominous glow. Jack studied it closely, trying to decipher its secrets. Any idea how this thing works? Jack asked, breaking the silence. Alara shook her head. Not yet. But I have a contact on Centauri Prime who specializes in ancient tech. If anyone can help us, it's Dr. Voss. Let's hope he's available, Jack replied, setting the ship on autopilot. They landed smoothly in a secluded area of the spaceport, avoiding the main hub to stay off the Vrognar's radar. With the device carefully packed, they made their way through the back alleys to Dr. Voss's laboratory. Dr. Voss, an eccentric scientist with wild gray hair and a perpetually distracted expression, greeted them at the door. Alara, it's been too long. And who is this? Jack, she introduced. We need your help, Dr. Voss. We found this device on Haven, and the Vrognar are after it. Voss's eyes lit up with curiosity. Come in, come in. Let's have a look. Inside the cluttered lab, filled with gadgets and ancient artifacts, Dr. Voss examined the device with growing excitement. This is remarkable. An artifact from the precursor civilization. It has the potential to emit powerful energy waves, but it needs a catalyst to activate it fully. Jack frowned. Catalyst? Where do we find that? Dr. Voss scratched his head. There are legends of a crystal hidden in the mountains of Centauri Prime. If the Vrognar know about this, they'll be heading there as we speak. Alara's eyes widened. We need to get there first. Without wasting a moment, they set off towards the mountains. The journey was arduous, the terrain rugged and challenging. As they neared their destination, the air grew colder and the path steeper. "We're close," Alara said, checking her map. "The cave should be just up ahead." Suddenly, the ground shook, and they saw the silhouette of Vrogner soldiers ahead. "Looks like we have company," Jack muttered, drawing his blaster. "Stay sharp," Alara advised, readying her weapon. They advanced cautiously, using the rocky terrain for cover. The Vrogner were already searching the cave, their leader barking orders. Jack signaled to Alara, and they moved into position, launching a surprise attack. Blaster fire lit up the cave entrance, and the sound of battle echoed through the mountains. Jack and Alara fought with precision, taking down the Vrogner soldiers one by one. The leader, realizing they were outmatched, ordered a retreat. As the dust settled, Jack and Alara approached the cave. Inside, they found the crystal, glowing with an ethereal light. "This must be it," Jack said, carefully extracting it from its resting place. They quickly made their way back to Dr. Voss's lab, the crystal securely in hand. Voss's eyes gleamed as he set to work, integrating the crystal with the device. "This should do it," he muttered, making the final adjustments. The device hummed to life, emitting a powerful energy wave. "Incredible," Voss breathed. "This could turn the tide against the Vrogner." Jack nodded. "Now we need to test it." They moved to an open area outside the lab, positioning the device carefully. With a deep breath, Jack activated it. A brilliant wave of energy surged forth, disorienting a nearby Vrogner patrol. "It works," Alara exclaimed. "We can use this to protect Centauri Prime." Jack grinned, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. "Let's get this to the authorities. The Vrogner won't know what hit them." As they packed up the device, ready to present it to the planetary defense forces, a sense of hope filled the air. They had the means to defend their home, thanks to their courage and determination. "One step closer to freedom," Jack said, looking at Alara with renewed determination. "Just the beginning," she replied, her eyes shining with resolve. Together, they set off, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing they had the power to protect their world from the Vrogner threat. The planetary defense headquarters of Centauri Prime was abuzz with activity as Jack and Alara arrived with the device. The once skeptical authorities now greeted them with a mix of curiosity and hope. General Riker, a stern yet fair leader, met them at the entrance. "I've heard about your find," Riker said, his eyes fixed on the device. "If this works, it could be our best chance against the Vrogner." "It will work," Jack assured him. "We just need to integrate it with your defense grid." Riker nodded and led them to the central command room, a high-tech hub filled with monitors and control panels. Technicians immediately began connecting the device to the grid under Dr. Voss's supervision. As they worked, Alara turned to Jack. "This is it. All our efforts come down to this moment." Jack squeezed her hand, a rare gesture of camaraderie. "We did everything we could. Now we wait." The minutes ticked by as the team finalized the integration. Finally, Dr. Voss gave a thumbs up. "We're ready." General Riker stepped forward, his voice steady. "Activate the device." A hum filled the room as the device powered up. An energy wave surged through the defense grid, and a protective shield enveloped Centauri Prime. The monitors displayed the expanding barrier, a bright, shimmering dome of safety. "Incoming Vrogner ships," a technician announced. "They're approaching fast." "Perfect timing," Jack muttered. "Let's see what this baby can do." The Vrogner fleet descended, their ships bristling with weapons. As they neared the shield, their systems began to malfunction. The energy wave disrupted their controls, sending ships veering off course and crashing into each other. "We did it," Alara exclaimed, relief washing over her. General Riker allowed himself a rare smile. "Outstanding work. This changes everything." Jack and Alara watched as the Vrogner retreated, their invasion thwarted by the newly activated shield. The sense of victory was palpable, yet Jack's mind remained alert. "What's next?" Jack asked Riker. "We strengthen our defenses and make sure the Vrogner can't find a way around this," Riker replied. "Your efforts have given us a fighting chance. We'll need you both in the ongoing efforts." Alara nodded. We'll be ready. The Vrognor won't stop, and neither will we. With the immediate threat neutralized, the team took a moment to breathe. Jack and Alara found a quiet corner in the command center, reflecting on their journey. "I never thought we'd come this far," Alara said softly. "From the spaceport to here, it's been one hell of a ride." Jack chuckled. "And it's just the beginning. We've shown the Vrognor that we're not to be underestimated. But there will be more challenges ahead." Alara met his gaze, determination shining in her eyes. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together."